Hey guys, welcome back to our second video in this series of talking about bringing India to the brink of freedom. So right now we're going to focus on the movement to a free India, also the Free India campaign. And it really originates with this man right here, probably one of the more famous, I don't want to call him a freedom fighter because he his life was dedicated to not fighting, to nonviolence, but he was a man that, in the figurative sense, fought for freedom in India, for every Indian, not just Hindus, not just of the upper class, not just the educated, but every Indian. That was really the goal of Gandhi's life. And despite being born a member of the upper class, one of the upper castes, he really sought to bring equality for all of India. To throw off the kind of the restraints of the British Empire and their control, their domination of India. And like I was saying before, when we were talking about the crown jewel of the British Empire, that Gandhi benefited from the education system brought on, the opportunities brought on by the British Empire. So to say that he didn't benefit from the British Empire would be kind of a bit of, I don't want to say a falsehood, but kind of stretching the truth. And he eventually does take a job in South Africa. So he is not only witnessing the oppression of the British Empire in India, living through it, but he also witnesses it and sees it in South Africa. And when we talk about Africa, we'll talk about a little bit more, more in depth about the influence of Gandhi on Mandela, on the ANC, the African National Congress, and how that kind of pushes South Africa to move forward. But much like he does in India, he works against discrimination, works towards equality, and for the British government in India, the British government in South Africa, that's a problem for him or for them. And through this experience, both in London, being part of that society, working in South Africa, but ultimately being a member of the upper caste system, he develops this idea of Satyagraha because he sees the oppression of the British Empire, and he understands the need to get rid of it in order for a truly independent India to thrive. But he's also seen the failure of violence, the failure of violent resistance, and he sees that doing so, or kind of giving in, as he might call it, giving in to the violence, is counterproductive because it doesn't really get you anywhere. So with his philosophy of Satyagraha, he really sees it as what he calls the devotion to truth, where he is a person who adheres to Satyagraha is always seeking the truth. They are seeking it in a manner that is non-violent. And if we want to kind of bring it into a something that more applicable to U.S. history, we look at his influence, Gandhi's influence on Martin Luther King, and the civil disobedience that came out of King's movement, MLK's movement, during the civil rights era. And Gandhi was the precursor to that. So we'll look at, in the next video, look at his non-cooperation campaigns, his Salt March, the Salt March, as a means of pushing this devotion to truth and understanding in a non-violent way. And his religion, although he was Hindu, it was really it wasn't a strict sense in one way or the other, but it really blended his understanding of Eastern and Western philosophies, due to his experience in London, studying in London, being exposed to that atmosphere. really allowed him, I'll say allowed him, but gave him the opportunity to blend those ideas. And we also Mohandas Gandhi, that's his name, but he's also known as Mahatma, like kind of a nickname that he received, known as the great soul, for his adherence to this concept of Satyagraha, this civil disobedience, throughout his life, even to the very end, when he is ultimately killed. And quite frankly, I don't even know if this quote is really attributed to him, or can be attributed to him. But I think it's very subtle way of not subtle, very succinct way of bringing the idea, the concept of Satyagraha to India. So it's not about shaking the world in through violent revolution like we see with the French Revolution, or even the American Revolution, but with Gandhi, it was the gentle way, right? It was civil disobedience, protests, marches, that you're not picking up arms, you're not beating, killing people, because again, the evil that creates, at least according to Gandhi, was far worse than the freedom that you'd gain from that. And again, it's for Gandhi, it's the gentle way. It's the way of seeking truth. But it wasn't all about Gandhi. Like we talked about before, with the Muslim League cropping up in response to the INC, the Indian National Congress, in the late the late 1900s, late 19th century, early 20th century. We see this man also coming to the forefront, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Jinnah is the leader of Pakistan in the post-partition, post-freedom, post-independence period of time for Pakistan. But much like Gandhi, he's a well-educated man. He is a lawyer by trade, and he is seen as a very astute thinker, and well respected both on the Hindu and the Muslim side. Obviously more so because he is a Muslim, more so on the Muslim side, but he was elected the president of the Muslim League in 1916, and from there began to influence, or continue to influence the direction of the INC towards freedom. And we really see that coming about in the coming decades, especially in the 1920s, in the aftermath of World War I, where the Muslim League splits with Gandhi and the INC over this campaign of non-cooperation, where Jinnah really sought a more active role in splitting India, or removing the British Empire from India. And that's where we see, like I was saying before, he's the leader of that Pakistan independence movement, where they sought to create a Muslim country, a Muslim majority nation, because they slowly began to realize that maybe this idea of a jointly ruled Muslim Hindu nation was not necessarily going to be possible, because we see that the splitting, even as early as the 1920s, over the different philosophies, would also begin to kind of create more, instead of it being a tiny split, by the end it's a chasm that for many is kind of irreparable. Alright, talk to you guys later.